It looks like every new Mini that rolled off the production line since 2001 could be sitting on a ticking time bomb. Here we are 22 years later, and I'm sad to say that cars like this Mini Cooper S are now becoming disposable, throwaway cars. Give it another couple of years and these could start to become quite rare. And dare I even say, good examples of these could see the prices start to skyrocket. Now that's obviously not investment advice, but if you think about it, these cars are getting to that age where they are the hot hatch of their generation. And with Mark 1 Golf GTIs, even Mark 2 Golf GTIs, Peugeot 205 GTIs have all gone absolutely ballistic as far as their resale prices go. What's the next car? Could it be the Mini Cooper S that a middle-aged man is looking to buy to relive his youth? We're going to jack this car up, have a look at how bad this problem is. Now, this is an extreme case. This would probably write this car off if I took it to a garage because it just isn't economically viable to repair this. What with the cost of new parts, labour costs for the garage, questionably, you could say you could just go and buy another one. But then again, you'd probably be facing the same or a similar problem. We're going to jack this up, have a look at this problem, and later on in the video, I'm going to show you some preventative measures. I'm going to talk you through how you can stop this happening to your Mini. Now, this is nothing you can't fix at home with a bit of patience, some simple hand tools, a lot of coffee, and the odd obscenity thrown in for good measure. Now, with the back wheel off, looking just in here where the suspension sits and the anti-roll bar is on this rear beam, you can see how bad this rust is. So if you look there, that has eaten through. And that is what has caused this car to need a new subframe. It's just the amount of rust that you can see here. Again, the suspension is a bit crusty, but then we look here at the body, isn't looking too bad. So we've, hopefully, once we get the subframe off, we've avoided the need for any welding. We can also see here that these are the steel lower arms because this is an R53. So they're quite crusty, along with the subframe up there, all across here. And then over to the other side as well. You can see that the rear arms and the subframe are definitely past their best. Right, let's get started. First off is the arch liner. We'll get that out of the way so we've got some visibility back here and it gives us better access. Then we'll remove the brake caliper and the disc. Once they're out of the way, it is just a case of unbolting the rear control arms, the suspension strut. They're all connected to the subframe at the other side, so all of this has got to come off. So with the anti-roll bar drop link undone, we just unbolt these bolts under here, holding this bush mount on. And with the lower arm out of the way, we can see how bad this really is. I mean, that is just savage, isn't it? Yeah. It's like this car's been in the sea. Now, obviously, the exhaust needs to come out the way because that sits over the top or underneath the subframe, whichever way you want to look at it. So a few more bolts here, we can get the exhaust out the way, and then it is just the subframe bolts left to go. And just like that, the exhaust is out. Result. Now, it wouldn't be Barn Club on a Sunday without Ed from Bunch of Swines cooking some lunch. And today, I'm looking forward to this, we've got breaded pork sandwiches with candied jalapenos. That's right, this is going to be an absolute banger. Now with lunch out the way, I need to get back under the car. So I thought I'd give it a quick sweep just to make it a bit nicer under there so I'm not rolling around in all the dirt from this morning. And bearing in mind, this is a barn, but I did sweep the floor before we started this. And the amount that has come off the bottom of this car, that is all flakes of rust, chunks of metal and bits that have just rusted off the car. So, yeah. I mean, I think that's all I've got to say. So let's get under here. I think there's about 6 more bolts to do, and this subframe should just slide out. One thing to bear in mind is I've got to take the fuel tank out. Luckily, there's no fuel in this, so I need to undo this Jubilee clip here, and then the filler neck will come away. Quite good design, if I do say so. And then a couple of bolts under here, and then the tank will be out of the way. And that's it. Then we're ready to remove this crusty subframe with the last couple of bolts on this side that are holding it in. Now, it's a good job this is not a how-to video, because I have done some things here that a mini technician would frown upon. But look, it's out. So let me just get these bits off, drag the subframe out, and we'll see how bad the rust is here. And with these rear arms and this rear subframe off, you can actually see how bad this really is. Now, as I said earlier, this is an extreme case, but look, this car's a 2006, so this is one of the last R53s that came off the production line. So there's a good chance that yours could be, if not as bad, on its way to being this bad. So let's take a look. So we can see here, I'm guessing that's meant to be attached to there. Yeah, it's just really, really crusty. And yeah, you can see there's a lot of surface rust on this, but it's what that surface rust is hiding. That's what worries me. And then as we look at the other arm, again, it's just all flaking off. This thing is totally finished. That does not look like something I'd want to be driving on. The good news is parts for these are readily available, and these being the R53 rear arms, right? With the amount of rust in them, you could say lightweight R53 rear arms, but it's a good opportunity to upgrade to the R56 ones. And that's what we've got down here. This car came with a pair of R56 rear arms and a replacement subframe as well. These are made of aluminium, so we shouldn't have any problems with those in terms of rust, but also they're a little bit lighter as well. So that's the rear arms. Did you think they were going to be that bad? And then we've got the subframe, and I've got to say, this gets worse every time I look at it. Please do go and check yours out. I mean, it'll be looked at on the MOT every year anyway, but there's some good preventative measures that you can take to stop yours getting this bad, and we'll go through those in a moment. But when I take a look, yeah, this is bad. So again, we can see here, I mean, look at it. And then as we turn it over, again, we can see just more holes. I mean, I get you kind of get the picture. The car's a 2006. You would expect better. This is worse than the rust that I've seen on any Mark II Golf from the 80s and 90s. But look, I'm not getting down on it. This is a part that you can change yourself. As we've seen, we've got this off on the floor here. You could do this on your driveway at home. You could do it in your garage, or if you've got a barn, you could do it in your barn. But let's have a look at the replacement one that came with the car. No holes. It's been nicely refurbished. When I bought the car, I thought it came with a new one, but it looks like it was a used one, looking at some of the marks on here. But there's no holes in it. We've refurbished it. We've rubbed it down, giving it a nice coating to make sure that we don't have to go through this again in a couple of years. Now, with the subframe off, it gives us easy access to look at the underside of the car. Now, I haven't quite got the fuel tank out yet. There's a couple of bits I need to do to get that off, but you kind of get the idea. You can see how bad the underside of this car is. And again, looking at it, it's not structural. It's all surface rust, thankfully. But what you can see, it just needs a little bit of tidying up, really. We can rub that down. We can treat it. As we look back there, it's the same behind the fuel tank. All the dirt and the mud has got stuck up under there over time. And again, just around this side, it's the same. It's just a little crusty under here. We can rub this down, treat it, put some paint over the top of it, and it's good to go for many years to come. How do you treat this yourself? Well, a lot of this is accessible without taking your subframe off. There's a couple of things you can do. First things first, give it a good jet wash out. Take the arch liners off, give it a good clean. Get rid of any leaves or any built up mud or dirt or any moisture that's just sitting behind there. With that nice and clean, there's a couple of options you've got. Now, you could just spray a product on like Lanoguard. It's a water repellent. It basically makes it so the water and moisture just doesn't stick to the underside of your car. So it's a great treatment. And if your car isn't rusty, hasn't really got that bad, it's a great product to put on, and that'll help you make sure that it keeps the rust at bay. But if yours has started to go like this, there's a couple of different options. If your subframe is starting to look a little bit crusty, but not certainly nowhere near as bad as this. There are some options. This is the rear subframe we're putting back on. It's not brand new, as I said, it's a reconditioned one. But how have we reconditioned it? We've rubbed it down. There was a couple of bits of surface rust on there, but nothing bad. And then what we've done is we've sprayed it with Buzzweld. Now, Buzzweld will treat the rust, so it encases the rust, alters it chemically, and then gives you this nice, tough, matte black finish over the top that looks pretty cool and should help protect from any stone chips or any damage to the coating that's then going to cause future rust. So again, you can either paint that with it on your car, kind of mask up around it, or if you're not really that worried it is the underside, just spray away. But still, you know, obviously while this subframe was off, I've taken the opportunity to paint this with Buzzweld to ensure that this lasts for many years to come. Are all Minis going to end up like this one? Well, there's a good chance, because I live in the south of England where this car spent most of its life, and do you know what? It's quite mild down here. Our winters aren't that bad, but we do salt the roads. So with the salt and the grit over the winter, yeah, it's obviously taken a toll on the bottom of this little car. Now, this is a late 06 R53, just before the R56s came out. But you're thinking, well, is my R56 going to be as bad? There's a good chance it is. This rear beam in this stack of parts here is actually off an R56. It came with those arms, and you can see it is already started to look pretty shabby. So there's a good chance if you don't take preventative measures, your R56 could end up like this little Mini here. So we're going to need to do some work to get this back to its former glory. We need to treat the rust, paint it. We need to fit a whole bunch of new suspension components. We've got some coilovers to fit. If you want to see how we're going to tackle the rust on this Mini, then make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, press the notification bell. If the next video is up, you'll see it here. If not, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.